Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Chris. Today I'm glad to talk to you about the newly released X100VI from Fujifilm that I have right here and compare it to the X100V, tell you what are the changes, the pros, the cons, and also I'm going to tell you if it's worth upgrading from the 5 to the 6. Let's do it. One of the first thing I want to mention is the fact that the X100VI has pretty much the same internals as the X-T5. One of those changes is the sensor. It now has 40.2 megapixels. It is a CMOS 5 X-Trend sensor as compared to 26.1 on the X100V. I personally don't run after megapixels. As you know, I don't really mind having 26 or even 24, but having the extra megapixels could be something good for some of you that want a high resolution, that want to print out their photos, that want to crop, that want to zoom in. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you would want to have more megapixels. In terms of low light capabilities, I did not compare these two yet, but I can tell you that the X-T3 and the X-T5 were very similar in terms of low light, in terms of noise and ISO. So you can, by the way, go check the video up here if you didn't watch it yet, and you will see the differences between those two sensors. The X100VI now has a high-speed image processing. This is the X Processor 5, so it will handle pictures faster and better. I did notice that the focusing speed and accuracy of the X100VI is better than the X100V or V. I never know how to call this guy. Is it 5? Is it V? Anyways, I'm going to call it 5 for the sake of this review because this is 6, so there. This finally has IBIS, in-body image stabilization, which was not the case in the previous 5 generations. What that means is you can now shoot handheld, and it gives you up to 6 stops of stabilization in body, and that will allow you to shoot in lower shutter speeds. For example, low light, or if you want to, change other settings and want to shoot at lower shutter speeds handheld. In fact, like for lenses, when you shake it, when it's off, you can feel the parts moving inside, which is the IBIS, as compared to this one that doesn't move. There are 20 film simulations, and they included the Real Ace that we found on the GFX 100 That film simulation, I gotta tell you, it is really, really good. I'm showing you a bunch of them in this video just so you can see how good it looks. And I think it really looks filmy. It really has something to it, a charm. I would use this with the JPEG straight out of the camera for that film simulation, which I normally don't do on my Fuji cameras. It has an OLED EVF, 3.69 million dots, which is the same as the X100V, so that does not change. I didn't notice an improvement on that regard. It's pretty much the same. Like on the X-T5, like I said, it now has AI-based subject auto detection, which basically means that you can choose if you wanted to track an animal, if you wanted to track, a bird, a plane, a car, and different types of subjects, and it will basically lock in those subjects for you so that you can have them sharp. I tried this with animals. I went to the lake, tried with, birds. I tried with swans and ducks and dogs and, boats and cars and all sorts of things. And it works really good. I am not a lover of AI-based auto tracking because I am more old school, but if you love those features, they're now included in this little camera. In terms of video, they bumped it to 6.2K as compared to 4K on the X100V. That is not a feature that I personally will use. I did not even try it, but it's there. And if you're interested in filming with it, you will have a little bump in resolution. It weighs 470 grams, which is 7 grams lighter than the X100V. Basically the same. You won't notice a difference between the two. There's a little difference in the lens cap. I know it's a minor detail, but I'm going to tell you all the minor details in this video, wherein the new one looks a little darker gray compared to the other one that was a little more silver, and it is a little bit taller than the old one. The lens is exactly the same. The upgrade was made on the X100V, and they kept the same one on the X100VI. I think it's a great lens. It is very nice, very sharp. The only times that I did notice a bit of a softness is when you have it fully open at f2 and you get real close to something. I have the same issue on my 23mm f2, the actual dedicated lens that you can buy. When you get too close to something at max aperture, it starts to, get soft and dreamy. What about the batteries? Well, the batteries are exactly the same. There was no change, no improvement on that regard. So they didn't take the batteries of the XT4 or GFX series. They kept this good old square batteries that we used to have back in the day. And I say back in the day because when I started with Fuji back in 2014-15 with the XT10, I already had those batteries. So that is a pro and a con. I think it's a pro for those that already own batteries like that. You'll be able to keep them and keep using them. Also, I don't think you need something bigger for such a small body, and that's probably the reason why they kept this battery, is to keep the small form factor of, you know, the X100 series that we all love. I did shoot up to, I think, 300 photos, 350 with one battery, which is plenty of enough. And if you need more, you just take another battery with you. They're very cheap nowadays, so I think it's not an issue. These two look exactly the same. It is basically the same body with different internals. I will tell you what are the differences that I noticed, a few little things that will allow you to see the difference between the two, but other than that, they're the same. One of the differences is in the front here, there's a little red dot as compared to the new camera that doesn't have one. The placement of the speaker underneath is different. It is more centered on the 5th generation as compared to the side for the X100VI. You can see the screws at the bottom, they're a little bit different as well. And at the back here on the display back button, there is a little Bluetooth logo. Another thing I noticed is to put the SD card in the camera, you need to put it the other way around, like Sony does. I have no idea why they did this, but there. By the way, it is still SD cards, there's no CF Express or any of that, so they kept it really, really simple and very, very similar to the previous model. A few things to consider. A, when we're talking higher megapixels count, we are talking bigger file size, obviously. So you're getting around 25 to 30% bigger size. And that basically means that your raw file is going to be 50 megabyte per raw file. Now, do you need this or not? That's up to you. I personally don't, but you know, it's something to consider. Now, the question that you might be asking yourself, is it worth upgrading from the 5th generation to the 6th? Or even, should you buy the 5th or the 6th if you don't own any of these? My answer is, obviously, it depends on who you are and what you need, but for the most part, I don't think the upgrade from 5 to 6 is necessary, and if you own the 5th generation, I would definitely stick to the 5th generation. Do you need those extra megapixels? Do you need the IBIS? And do you need to have AI? Those are pretty much the three things I would ask myself if I was you, is do you use those things or not? I don't use AI, for example, so that's out of the way. I don't need the extra megapixels, that's also out of the way. And the IBIS is not something I normally need because I don't usually shoot handheld under 125th of a second. Therefore, I don't need to upgrade to the new version. Those are the three questions to ask yourself to know if you should upgrade from 5 to 6. There, I hope I covered everything about this new beautiful camera. If you have any question, obviously let me know in the comment section below. I'll answer it gladly. Don't forget to subscribe if you like my content. There are some really, really exciting things coming up in the coming weeks. And I see you in my next video. Take care. Cheers.